welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richey. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than the incomparable Sharon Reed, host, commentator, and Rebel HQ all-star contributor. Also host of the Sharon Reed Show, always a fascinating analysis. First story of the day, hell of a thing. Double standard, I would say. Representative Omar, well, censored over remarks. But when you look at the rest of the story, well, you may have something to say. Here it is.
I think it is really unfortunate that people don't care about the fact that all Jewish kids should be kept safe and that we should not have to tolerate anti-Semitism or bigotry for all Jewish students, whether they are pro-genocide or anti-genocide.
Put up the picture full mass. That is an interesting philosophy, the absolute protection of free speech, meaning your words cannot get you, well, killed or penalized. Per Axios, a House Republican is now preparing a resolution to censor Representative Omar, Democrat out of Minnesota, for referring to some students as pro-genocide during a visit to Columbia University last week. The GOP-controlled House has repeatedly voted on and passed resolutions to censor and punish progressives for alleged inflammatory rhetoric, including Representative Omar. Now, last Thursday, during a visit to show support for the pro-Palestinian encampment, which, by the way, is led also by Jewish student organizations, the encampment on the university's campus, Representative Omar was posed a question by Fox 5 about alleged anti-Semitic incidents spurred by the protest. Quote, I actually met a lot of Jewish students who are in the encampment. And I think it is really unfortunate that people don't care about the fact that all Jewish kids should be kept safe. The lawmaker said, adding, we should not have to tolerate anti-Semitism or bigotry for all Jewish students, whether they are pro-genocide or anti-genocide, end quote. Once again, that quote has now led to Republicans clutching their pearls. Oh my God, I cannot believe this. There's a resolution, put him up. His name is Bacon. Representative Don Bacon, Republican out of Nebraska, to save the day. He said he is now working to censor Representative Omar, telling Axios, quote, talking about pro-genocide Jewish students is wrong. Folks can protest Israel, but don't blame Jewish American students for Israel. That is by definition anti-Semitism. Adding that all students deserve a safe environment. Now keep his picture up. I find it quite ironic that him and generally every Republican who thinks like him, they are perfectly okay with intentionally blurring the lines between Hamas and Palestinians. They are okay with you believing that somehow Israel is at war with women and children in Gaza. There is no censure for what he has said, nor his colleagues in the Republican Party. But this very benign and frankly appropriate statement of protection of all gets an absolute resolution from the hypocritical Congress. Congresswoman Omar clearly condemned anti-Semitism, clearly condemned bigotry for all Jewish students, made it very specific. Spokesperson for Representative Omar, Jacqueline Rogers, told Axios, quote, attempts to misconstrue her words by drafting this baseless resolution are meant to distract from the ongoing violence and genocide occurring in Gaza and the large anti-war protests happening across our country and around the world. Okay, so she was removed from the House Foreign Affairs Committee, a party line vote last February over past anti-Israel comments, which colleagues in both parties labeled anti-Semitic. A removal was one of the House GOP's first actions after it took control of the chamber. That's when they knew they had them because Democrats allowed this to happen. Representative Omar on April 28th also fired back at Jonathan Greenblatt, CEO of the Anti-Defamation League. This was on Twitter, now known as X. after he shared a snippet of the interview and condemned Omar for her remarks, stating, quote, "It is patently false and a blood libel to suggest that any Jewish students are pro-genocide." Okay? And then said, watch this clip, basically. In Omar's post, she rebutted, quote, "This is the pro-genocide I was talking about. Can you condemn this like I have condemned anti-Semitism and bigotry of all kind? Kill all Arabs," the quote says. "They are all Hamas," the quote says. "All grotesquely evil," the quote says. "Level Gaza," the quote says. And included a link to this April 24th Intercept article about the Department of Education opening an investigation into the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, in response to a complaint alleging that the school took months to address the harassment of Palestinian and Arab students. Once again, that is an exhaustive article and highlights the reality that she speaks of. The article details that in an undisclosed civil rights complaint, 18 students detailed severe anti-Palestinian and anti-Arab harassment at UMass, including racial slurs, death threats, physical assault. This created a hostile environment for Arab Palestinian students and perceived allies to those students on campus, with one alarming incident involving a student shouting, quote, "Kill all Arabs," end quote. During a protest against Israel's actions in Gaza, the complaint also charged that despite repeated communication to over a dozen administrators and Title IX officials, the school was extremely slow to take action, which exacerbated conditions for students. Another member of the squad in Congress, lone Palestinian-American lawmaker, Representative Tlaib out of Michigan, was also censored in a bipartisan vote last November for defending the chant from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. The New Republic compiled a list of Republicans who said things worse than Representative Tlaib at the time, but they weren't censored. That list included Ohio Representative Max Miller, who in an October interview with the Ingram Angle attacked the presence of a Palestinian flag outside Representative Tlaib's office, while suggesting the nation should be eviscerated, stating, "We're going to turn that into a parking lot," end quote. Said this on TV. Another Republican, Florida Representative Brian Mast, compared Palestinians to, quote, "Nazi civilians." We're talking about Palestinians. Adding, "There is not this far stretch to say there are very few innocent Palestinian civilians." And a Democratic resolution to censor him was put on hold. I don't know if anybody is picking up on the code here, but the same things they are saying about Palestinians, they say the same things about Black people in the 60s. If you recall, they would say things like the only good is a dead. They would say things like, yeah, I know there's some good Black people, but for the vast majority, they're all criminals. They would call Black folk beast, animals. The language is meant to dehumanize the other person or group of people. That's the goal of the rhetoric. Put up the pictures full mass. In an appearance on Fox News, Hannity, Senator Lindsey Graham said that, quote, "We're in a religious war here, and I am with Israel. Do whatever the hell you have to do to defend yourself. Level the place," end quote. National news. No censor. 70% of Palestinians in Gaza who are killed are women and children. In an interview with Shannon Beam on Fox News, Senator Tom Cotton, remember that senator who argued you should just kill protesters, throw them off the bridge, he said. Well, old Cotton argued that mass bombing of Palestinian women and children is a justified counterattack. Quote, As far as I'm concerned, Israel can bounce the rubble in Gaza. And it was just this month that during a Fox appearance, Senator Cotton suggested protesters should have their skin torn off of vehicles and thrown off bridges. At the time of publication, the New Republic notes that this was nowhere near a comprehensive list, but none of these members have been censored whatsoever. I don't know if I should waste my time speaking about the obvious, which is the hypocrisy that you see before you. But allow me to highlight a nuance that may get missed in the narrative. The weak, feckless leadership of Democrats. You see, Democrats allowed for the censors of their own. Hell, some of them even voted along with the Republicans. Democrats are the ones who did not rally in a conclusive way behind these individuals who are expressing a progressive dynamic as anti-war, because many of them are simply two sides of the same coin. So yes, they may wax poetic about a cultural issue and then vote the same on banks. They may argue very passionately on Fox News, but vote the same on how stocks and how investments should be allowable to the Congress. You see, this is what we're dealing with. There's a new class of political leaders currently emerging who have not run for office yet. I interviewed a young man who's a Morehouse College student on my radio show this morning. When I tell you, he gave me hope because they don't think like these individuals we're talking about. None of them do. And to me, that is a great, great light at the end of this tunnel. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
Well, number one, I please don't ever think it's a waste of time because your reach is far. I only wish you had a twin so it could, multiply here. I agree with you. The Democrats have too much fear. They are feckless. I would like, if you'll allow me, Dr. Ritchie, to add in the media, because what I heard you say is people won't tell the truth, and neither will the media, and they won't challenge them. These students, as you mentioned, all walks of life, faith, many Jewish students are anti-war, anti what they would say is genocide, and they are fighting for what they believe is a righteous cause. That's what's going on here. And I don't believe this misinterpretation, calling them pro-Hamas, is an accident. Right. It is willful mislabeling. And Jonathan Greenblatt, who I have a lot of respect for from the Anti-Defamation League, I would love for him to come on and sit opposite you, Dr. Ritchie. He's got to be held accountable too. He has more in common with Representative Omar than he does not. Okay, so this is sick. Stand up for her. Stand up for her, Democrats.
And put it in proper context, because obviously they can if they choose to. All right, I told you, Donald Trump violated the gag order multiple times. When I said this is an absolute violation, conservatives on social media push back. You don't know the law. This is not a violation. And now that the judge has said it is a violation, conservatives are saying the judge doesn't know the law. This was not a violation. Okay, put it in full mass. What's going to happen to Trump, even though he has now violated the gag order against the judge? Really? Not a damn thing. Judge Juan Merchant ruled Tuesday on the gag order against former President Donald Trump, finding that he did, in fact, violate the original gag order. Not one time, not twice, not three, 9 times. He has 9 violations of a judicial gag order. So Trump was fined a whopping $1,000 per violation and ordered to take the offending social media post down by 2:15 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. Trump was fined a total of $9,000 in order to take down 7 offending posts from social media and 2 from his campaign website. Judge Merchant also warned that further violation may possibly, perhaps, could result in incarceration. Quote, therefore, defendant is hereby warned that the court will not tolerate continued willful violations of its lawful orders, and that if necessary and appropriate under the circumstances, it will impose an incarceratory punishment. Put his picture back up, the judge and Trump. Stop it, I say. Stop it. If you're not going to lock him up as you would do any other defendant who violated your gag order, judge, just stop it. because you're making him seem like a deity to his followers. If you're not going to enforce it in a significant way, stop handing them out. Also, when someone violates your gag orders in a routine way, Judge, you do have a history. You are able to simply say they got to sit in jail for an hour or two, maybe 24. Tuesday's ruling does not apply to the alleged 4 new instances of possible violations that prosecutors raised in court on Thursday. A separate hearing is scheduled for May 2nd for those violations. Merchant, the judge, had instructed Trump not to publicly comment on court personnel or witnesses. And prosecutors argued Tuesday that he had done so on at least 10 occasions. Once again, Judge, you are in charge of that courtroom and you are in charge of the safety of your staff. You are in charge of the safety of witnesses. You are in charge of the safety of that jury. He's testing you. He's testing you, sir. This is his way. At some point, I'm hoping that Trump runs into someone just as egotistical as he is. Put it up full mass. 8 violations prosecutors argued were committed by Trump on Truth Social post, in which he went after the judge. He went after the judge's daughter. He went after the former lawyer who is a witness for the prosecution, Michael Cohen, and others. So I'm going to say this, Judge. I don't have much faith in your ability to stand up for the rules that you set, because the man talked about you, I get it. Man talks about a witness, you give him a slap on the hand. But the man talked about your child. And you're still talking about possibly, if you keep doing it, I may lock you up. During the hearing on the gag order issued by Merchant in late March specifically prohibits Trump from making or directing others to make public statements about potential witnesses in the case. The jurors and the family members of the court staff or counsel in the case, among others, not including Merchant himself. During the hearing on the gag order last Tuesday, Merchant admonished Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, who attempted to justify multiple Trump posts that the prosecution alleged violated the gag order. You're losing all credibility with the court, is what the judge said. The commitment came in response to the attorney's claim that his client was trying to comply with the gag order. The attorney tried to argue that Trump's posts were simply political attacks, and that Trump was only trying to defend himself against his political opponents when he could not present specific examples of political attacks. The judge became impatient, according to reports in the courtroom, and told the attorney, quote, "You've presented nothing. I've asked you 8 or 9 times." The attorney defends Trump in the gag order evidentiary hearing. He says, "No, Your Honor, Trump was simply responding to political attacks." Judge says, "Okay, can you show me what political attacks he was responding to?" You see, that would have been the simplest, most direct way to provide an ounce of justification for Donald Trump. But there was none. Trump just decided to do it. His attorneys cannot control him. And it looks more and more like this judge is incapable as well. All right, sharing thoughts here.
Yeah, it looks that way because that's the way it is. Trump was actually sending out political attacks and threatening witnesses. That's what he does. And you're right about this judge who hasn't apparently, and no other judge apparently has learned what I learned years ago as a single mom. My daughter had this little iPad that she just loved. And I took it from her one day and I put it on my desk and I said, "Don't you touch it because you disobeyed mommy." And I mean what I say. Within 30 minutes, I heard a familiar tune from this show, Bubble Guppies. I'll never forget it. She had taken the iPad and she was back on it because time and time again, I had taken it, given it back. I threatened to take it, didn't. I can show you better than I can tell you. It's probably too late when you're 80 years old or close to it, however old he is. He's never been held accountable a day in his life. Yeah. Who's going to show him instead of just telling him?
Yep, there you go. There you go. All right. I promise we will have more updates about him violating gag orders and nothing happens to him. Okay. A retired Black female judge on an airplane harassed by a flight attendant. It is a hell of a story. Put up the picture full mass. A lot of twists and turns here. Per Atlanta Black Star, they did great reporting on this. Pamela Hill Viola, a retired Black circuit court judge from Chicago, is now suing American Airlines for racial discrimination, claiming a male flight attendant told her to, quote, use the bathroom in the back of the plane, even though she was booked to fly in first class. The federal civil complaint against the airline alleges that the flight attendant, whose name and race were not disclosed, racially profiled her during a flight from Chicago to Phoenix. This happened on February 10th. The lawsuit claims that the flight attendant accused the judge of slamming the lavatory door, slammed it, when she used it the first time, and began hounding the woman as she continued to use the same restroom, even as she was rightfully seated in first class with members of her family. Quote, the flight attendant stopped me as I was returning to my seat and told me I slammed the restroom door and I was not to do it again since passengers were sleeping on the plane. The judge told NPR during a recent interview about the incident. The flight attendant's insolence didn't provoke Judge Hillville, who said she ignored the remark and proceeded to walk back to her seat. Believing the man was simply mistaken because she knew she had not slammed the door behind her. Later during the flight, the judge got up to use the restroom again, leading to a second encounter with the male flight attendant, who attempted to dress down the judge again as she left the restroom and headed back to her seat, the complaint says. However, this time, the reprimand was more severe and had clear racist undertones. He began to berate me by pointing his finger at me toward my face, saying, I told you not to slam the door. So from now on, you are to use the restroom in the back of the plane. While he pointed in the direction of the restroom and coach, the judge said. By now, the judge said she felt the flight attendant was clearly using the restroom as a pretext to harass her. Now, I find it quite interesting. Sir, whoever the flight attendant is, if the issue is slamming the door and people need to be able to enjoy their flight or get rest on the flight, why would you not care about those at the back of the plane who are resting? I just don't understand the logic here. And also, the door slamming thing is ironic, and we got more. American Airlines did, in fact, issue a statement saying they have reached out to the judge in an effort to get to the bottom of what happened. Quote, we strive to ensure that every customer has a positive travel experience, and we take all claims of discrimination very seriously, the airline added. It wasn't clear if the representatives of the airline had spoken with the judge yet, who claimed she endured the racial harassment throughout her entire flight. She said she never noticed any other first-class passengers complaining about the restroom or the door being slammed. She also pointed out that while that white passengers used the same first-class restroom without ever being confronted. However, she said the intensifying clash with the flight attendant ultimately caused the other passengers to become annoyed with her. The judge said she felt the flight attendant was singling her out for no other apparent reason than her skin color, and believes beyond the shadow of a doubt that the confrontation was racially motivated. The flight attendant got back in the judge's face a third time when she used the first-class restroom again about 30 minutes before the flight landed, defying his earlier command for her to use the lavatory at the back of the plane. This time, while walking back to her first-class seat, the judge said the flight attendant shadowed her and then put his hands on her before vowing that she would be arrested as soon as the plane reached the airport. The judge said she withheld any response and walked back to her seat. The complaint states that the flight attendant didn't like the way Hillville talked to him and accused her of assault, which the judge denies. Quote, this was a complete fabrication, as I told him that I never hit him, she states in the complaint. Since the incident, the judge said she has struggled to rest due to the trauma and humiliation she experienced. Quote, I'm still uncomfortable about flying because I don't know what they're going to say that I did in an attempt to cover up for what they did during this particular time, the judge said. The incident recalls the historical injustice of Rosa Parks being told to move to the back of the bus. That was almost 70 years ago, which sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, galvanized civil rights movement. And despite the passage of more than 6 decades since the situation involving Parks, incidents like this continue in 2024, highlighting ongoing challenges with racial equality in the United States. This report notes that previously, American Airlines faced 2 discrimination accusations just last year, 2023. One was involving track star Sha'Carri Richardson, and the other involving musician David Ryan Harris. Richardson was kicked off an American Airlines flight January 2023 after an alleged verbal altercation with a flight attendant whom she claimed was harassing her for filming a video. The following September, Harris was traveling with his 2 biracial children when he was stopped and questioned by Los Angeles International Airport after a flight attendant suspected those were not his children. He was in fact trafficking them. Okay. Yet another incident involves a black man who has now filed a lawsuit in Florida against American Airlines alleging, quote, blatant racial discrimination. He was removed from a flight from Miami to Atlanta following an argument with a flight attendant during boarding. American Airlines has faced accusations against black travelers. In 2017, the NAACP issued a travel advisory urging black people to not fly American Airlines due to complaints. The advisory was lifted in 2018 after American Airlines implemented a bias training policy and reviewed its complaint system. Wow. Sharon, thoughts here?
My thoughts are that if people keep saying American Airlines is being racist towards them, American Airlines is being racist. And I don't want to hear any more about bias training. And the NAACP should probably reinstate that travel advisory to Black people, because there's a good chance, apparently, that you will not be treated appropriately. If you want it to stop and you're in charge, it's quite easy to let your personnel know what will and will not be tolerated.
That's right. Well said. All right, we'll bring you updates as they come. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
You would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one. You're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said no, other than day one.
By locking up his enemies, by breaking all the rules, the courts, yeah, right. Them and what army?
This country needs a dictator. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
It's the truth. From the Young Turks, Americans saying they want a dictator.
I'd rather have Donald Trump as a dictator for 4 years.
I'm going dictator Trump for sure.
How crazy will his supporters go?
I'm going to be a dictator for one day.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. Here at TYT, we understand this. That's why we're not gonna price gouge you or use inflation as an excuse to raise our prices. A TYT membership is not your typical subscription, but basic membership is still just $4.99. So what do you get for that price? For starters, you're getting exclusive programming, unique, exclusive designs from Shop TYT, access to a members-only chat, giveaways, emojis, and so many other amazing perks. But most importantly, you're helping to make an impact. As a TYT member, you not only help us do the shows every day, but you drive real positive change in the process. In 2017, we helped to start Justice Democrats right here on TYT. That's a group that got 12 progressives elected into Congress. That's amazing, you did that. Your support also funds TYT's very own investigative reporting. Just recently, our reporters exposed the Fellowship Foundation and pressured lawmakers into boycotting that bigoted event. Isn't that amazing? We raised over $30,000 for Jackson, Mississippi, and delivered clean water to thousands of people in need. Our petitions, polls, and community of activists help keep the corruption of Washington in check. That's the impact of what just $4.99 a month from our members can do. And we're just getting started. Positive change doesn't occur overnight, but with your contribution, we can make it happen together.
I got pulled in. They told me, hey, listen, Cenk, we're insiders. We are the establishment. People in Washington tell me that they're concerned about your tone. We think that there's a better role for you, and it's not in 6 o'clock. The problem with the mainstream media is they're desperate to get access. They don't challenge the government. They don't challenge power. We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media.
Components that corrupt our politicians, I think, also corrupt mainstream media. It's really difficult for cable outlets to talk about things like income inequality, wealth inequality, when the advertisers that are funding their shows are the same corporations that want to ensure that the same system continues. People watch digital media or new media, they get a completely different message. They focus on the issues that matter or resonate more with the constituency. We need to know one thing. Is the corporate media incompetent?
Corporate media, I can't hear you. Establishment press, where are you? I can't hear you. But the media's position I am clear on. Everything is pro-war, so everything is just framed that way. In this case, I mean, war is inevitable, right? I mean, the defense contractors should get a couple more $1 trillion. You ready for the stunning results? Only 6% of people say they have a great deal of confidence in the press. Wakey, wakey, okay? Progressives don't like the media either. You know why? It's the corporate media. Corporate media sounds like a conspiracy. Wait. Who owns you? Multi-billion-dollar corporations, public corporations. The idea that we're corporate media because corporations own us. Yeah, that's how it works.
Join the Dragon Squad by becoming a YouTube channel member. Click the join button below or sign up on tyt.com/join to get access to fun emojis, a member-only chat, exclusive shop TYT designs, ad-free watching, and so many other amazing perks. Plus, you get bragging rights for being part of the coolest community on the internet and help us drive real positive change in the world. The Dragon Squad awaits, so join today.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of show left, but I got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Legally take pictures of strangers, which means that's a crime. I'm a alumni, you shut up! I'm never gonna forget you! You're dead!
Well, let's have some commentary with this. Here it is.
You're dead!
Well, you saw that, now you see me, so you probably already got a pretty good idea of how this is going to go. University of Texas at Austin is where this happened. And I'm just going to read the first-hand account that one of the victims gave me. They said that their friend and they were stepping foot on campus for her graduation pictures at 6 p.m. on Sunday, April 28th. As we were walking, a man sitting on a bench outside of the Harry Ransom Center decided to make a rude and disturbing comment, specifically saying, "Learn how to walk, R-word." We then told the man to mind his business since the comments were unprovoked and nothing had been said to him prior. He then continued to say statements such as "God doesn't love you" and that "we're going to hell." As we continued to yell at the man, "Get off the campus," he stated, "This is my campus, N-word," toward me. And right about then is when someone who was passing by pulled out their phone and started recording, and that's where the video comes from, and I'll just let that play out from here.
Legally take pictures of strangers, which means that's a crime, you I'm an alumni, you shut up! I'm never gonna forget you! You're dead!
All right, there's more video. He says he's an alumni of the university. Students are trying to figure out exactly who he is, if that point is true or not. Given the aggression, they are obviously concerned. Here's more.
He ended that with, I'll never forget you, N-word. You're dead, N-word. He also said he was an alumni. So, University of Texas at Austin, do me a favor, take a real close look here at everything about him. His stupid shoes and his little black socks and his outfit. And I did a little enhancement so you could see a little bit better his face there. Someone knows exactly who he is, and I want you to tell me, who is he?
That's right. I want you to tell Tizzy, and who is he? Quickly, all right? Obviously, this individual is having some issues with people of color, and because the university campus has many of them, I would suggest that this person be identified quickly. Sharon, this is a disturbing situation, and given the current climate that is our now, our political now, that could be a very scary moment to run up on someone on your college campus who's talking like that. What say you?
It is very scary, and it should be taken seriously, okay? As much as people want other incidents, that also should be taken seriously, handled. This has to be handled, and somebody knows who this fool is, so let's figure it out quickly.
That's right. All right, we'll bring you updates as they come. Okay, a Florida man, racist individual, is now sentenced, pulled out a shotgun on a black woman. Put up the picture full mass. Jacksonville, Florida. Frederick P.R. Alini III is accused of targeting two black women only days apart. This took place in 2022. Officials said he went to buy snacks at a store where his first victim worked. This happened on September 10th. According to the Department of Justice, when old Frederick got to the register, his card was declined. So he left the Jacksonville-based establishment without paying. He returned to the store, verbally abused the worker with racial slurs, and scolded her for not doing her job right. He later came back with his shotgun. It is alleged that he pointed it at the victim and cocked it back by pulling the side back to open the chamber and loaded a bullet into it. Officials said in a statement, she ran away from the scene. In another incident, 2 days later, the same individual attacked another woman who was sitting on her walker on the sidewalk. In addition to also using racial slurs against the victim, he told her that he would in fact kill her. Similarly to the store worker, he left the area, got his firearm per the DOJ. This time, he fired a single shot, leading the woman to fall to the ground. The bullet did not hit the woman, but she did suffer from injuries. So on Wednesday, April 24th, he pleaded guilty to 2 federal hate crimes. Officials said he was given 5 years with an additional 3 years of supervised release. Local station WESH reports that hate crime in Florida has surged in recent years. The state attorney office reported 229 hate crimes in 2022, 85 of them being race related. So you have a couple of things happening here. Obviously, he seemed hell bent on killing a black person. People like this are walking around our country. There is no outrage from the right. There's no new legislation in order to regulate this kind of behavior. There's no honorable approach to a legislative standard to say we stand against actions like this. No, none of that. And then you have this statistic from the Attorney General's office that clearly shows hate crime is on the rise. In particular, hate crime done by white males between the ages of 18 to 25. Now, where is the policy response to this reality? How are we becoming a less racist or race-conscious society? How are we becoming a better social construct if the stats and the criminal dynamics continue to get worse? Well, that's because they ignore them. They ignore the reality of what diversity and inclusion can help do to transform the intolerance that people like this clown may have. I believe he should have received more time than simply 5 years because he could have killed 2 people, attempted, in my opinion, to kill 2 people. If the woman would not have run away, she probably would have been shot at as well. But because he missed the second one, he only gets 5 years behind bars. Sharon, thoughts here?
Yeah, it's a slap on the wrist. And the fact that it happened in Florida where you have, the governor who's kissing up to Donald Trump to join his campaign now, issuing all that anti-woke nonsense. And people like me and others rightfully called it a distraction because they really just want to pick your pocket. But it's also serious. It puts us at risk. It puts Black and brown people who are already put upon at literal risk of losing their lives. So yeah, it's a slap on the wrist. It's not going to be 5 years. And he and his neighbors probably feel emboldened.
Yep, that's right. You got to think about it in context. Like, that's an attempted murder. He shot the weapon. He could have killed the woman. He's not charged with it. Gets 5 years. He gets to go home. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary on all the day's most important stories. We keep our viewers informed while also providing perspective and insight on the news we cover so you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes, the stories behind the stories.
We play musical chairs and put these children in one awful detention facility to the next. That's what's happening at the border.
The things that got him banned, he's still spreading. So presumably, I think it's reasonable to say that if you allow him back on the website, he's going to do it again.
Any legal voter that we deem not willing to vote for my side shouldn't vote because it'll replace me that's supposed to vote for my side. That's not how voting works. That's not how democracy works.
And while many people following today's political news can get discouraged about the direction of the nation and the world, that's not us. At TYT, we're genuinely optimistic about the future, and with good reason. Today, wide majorities of Americans agree with our progressive stances on issues ranging from healthcare and education to climate, immigration, and wages. The rising generation of young people are also overwhelmingly progressive in their political beliefs and policy objectives, and they're increasingly flexing their muscle as voters and activists to demand change from our elected officials. The traditional mainstream media is mostly AWOL. They, along with the government and many other cherished institutions, have been captured by corporate interests. Audiences sense that they're not getting the whole story or even the truth from once trusted outlets, whether broadcast and cable TV news networks or national newspapers and magazines. The antidote is the Young Turks. Unlike mainstream corporate outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma, and we don't carry water for the Republican or Democratic parties. So watch us Monday to Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and join the thousands of progressives around the globe who tune in every day for TYT's unmatched, award-winning content and see what it's like to experience a news organization that only answers to you.
I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care, but you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter, in this verse. I don't care. I don't care, I don't believe in it, and I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
Join the Dragon Squad by becoming a YouTube channel member. Click the join button below or sign up on tyt.com/join to get access to fun emojis, a member-only chat, exclusive shop TYT designs, ad-free watching, and so many other amazing perks. Plus, you get bragging rights for being part of the coolest community on the internet and help us drive real positive change in the world. The Dragon Squad awaits, so join today.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of show left. Let me read some of these amazing comments. All right, and Ruminari, Florida man. It is part of the controlling class to plan to stoke fear and hatred. And the uniparty lackeys are helping bring to fruition the fascist reality. Let's not pretend it isn't happening. I agree. Yeah, $2 too. Thank you for that. Love you, Doc, but Sharon's beautiful is definitely indisputable. There you go. We concur. All things basketball with GD Podcast. Thank you for that. Keep up the great work and necessary content, Doc. Thank you. And Naomi, vote for the good Doc for the Short Awards. That's right. That's right. Let's bring that shout out again. All right. I think this is the last day. Is that correct, Alex? Last day to vote. Last day to vote. Short Awards. We're very thankful for the nomination. And we are nominated in the social activism category. You can vote one time per day. This is the last opportunity. tyt.com/vote-IND. tyt.com/vote-IND. It is a team effort. Big ups to our production and support staff and to you. Okay. And that's interesting. Doodle Bean says, I don't know about identifying that guy from Texas. I mean, you might be doing him a favor and help him get a spot in Greg Abbott's administration. I think that was actually the official interview, what you just saw on the campus. All right. A former Major League Baseball player, put him up full mask, busted for preying on a child, a minor that he coached. This is a sad story. In Indiana, former professional baseball player Dustin Kyle Moore is set to spend 9 years in prison, 6 on probation, for abusing a child that he coached in softball. Moore started coaching this minor when she was 13. Groped her during training sessions at Strike Zone Training Center. Wrote her sexualized text, according to the documents. She said he gave her a cell phone to communicate exclusively with her and him. In text viewed by law enforcement, Moore, who played in Major League Baseball across 7 seasons for teams like Minnesota Twins, San Francisco Giants. He requested pictures, sexual in nature. Quote, do you have any idea how much I want to F you, RN? Moore wrote in one text. In messages, he referenced touching her in a sexual manner. He also sent her sexual videos of himself. Just disgusting. In court on Friday, the victim's father said the defendant told her lies about him, according to CBS Fort Wayne affiliate WANE. He said that Moore called him mentally and emotionally abusive. He said that Moore blocked parental controls on her phone. The father said he managed to find her, however, to save her from sexual assault near her 14th birthday. Defense lawyer Greg Miller reportedly told the court that Moore was still trying to figure out what caused him to target the girl. But the father said the girl suffered the loss of her innocence by a 50-year-old who knew what he was doing. The girl, who's now 15, reportedly told the court of experiencing isolation and depression from Moore's abuse. Moore faces a related ongoing charge of sexual misconduct with another minor in DeKalb County. Put up his picture again. You see, he's Coach. That's Coach right there. All right? I want you to take a good look at Coach, because you see, you sometimes can't tell what's beneath the surface. As we have talked about before in Indisputable, predators like this will intentionally connect themselves to positions of trust, in particular with children. The vast majority of those who work with children are good-hearted people. But then there are people like him. You cannot determine who they are by race. You cannot determine who they are by age. You cannot determine who they are by these very surface factors. One of the greatest tools you can have, and this is something, Sharon, I appreciate so much about your love for your daughter. One of the greatest tools a parent can have is making sure their child knows they can come and talk to them about anything. And that's it. Sharon, thoughts?
She can tell me anything. And I deliberately managed our lives in that way because of exactly what you're talking about. I want her to tell me the good, of course, and I want to be there for those moments, but I want to create a safe zone where she knows, come to me and let's figure this out. This is a degenerate, and I don't want to blame other parents because these people figure out a way. They're relentless, but this is why I am always around, not to scare her, but the coach won't have a direct line because there's that pesky mom again. There she is again.
All right, but at least he's going to prison for 9 years. Should be more. Right. All right, a 10-year-old child. Imagine a 10-year-old child being killed by his own mother, understands what's happening, has to play as if he is dead in order to stop the mother from drowning him. Put up the picture full mass. Alabama. Ashley Elizabeth Jones has now been charged with aggravated child abuse after police say she tried to drown her own son. Jones was released from the Colbert County Jail on a $50,000 bond. That's according to the court records. The arrest came after a 10-year-old child told his father that his mother had been physically abusing him for the last week. The couple shared joint custody. According to court records, the child told an investigator that his mother had bit him, struck him, locked him in a closet, and thrown bleach on him. He then said the mother had attempted to drown him in the bathtub. According to the child, he told the mother that he would rather live with his father. So then she threw bleach on him for that statement. When he went to take a bath to clean off the bleach that she threw on him, he said she jumped into the bathtub with him, grabbed his head, and held it underwater for roughly 45 seconds to get her to stop. He lay still and, quote, played dead. She then locked him in a closet for 3 hours. The child also had bruises and cuts, he said, were given to him by his mother. Profoundly sad. To the child, obviously, there's some counseling that will have to happen given that level of trauma and the fact that the child is old enough to understand, but not old enough to understand. You know, the memory is going to be there. Thankfully, it seems as if the father is dutiful and responded quickly when this abuse was reported, investigation started, and the child is now safe. But once again, the child did have to say something in order for there to be something done. And the child felt comfortable, safe, talking to the father. Sharing thoughts here.
You know, it's such a sad thing. We can all remember moments from our childhood, but to think that things do not play out the way nature intended, parents, mothers will give up their lives for their children. It is confusing, and as I think you're pointing out, it's life-lasting. I don't know where we go from here for this child, but it's just devastating.
Prayers, positive vibrations, and thoughts. All right. Wish the best of luck to the whole family. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show. Now,
we'll see. We'll see.
Poor Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? So now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Iadarola in their life.
You confused everyone?
Okay, sorry, I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me to Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay?
The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
Emilio D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Iadarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
Gun, baby. You know, the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm. That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That's it, we will settle it.
She's cute. I didn't say that about Laura Ingraham.
Scandal at TYT. Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good boss.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip in the Republicans. See, don't miss the live show. That's great. Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
It's time to break down the myths of the right wing, the political elite in both parties, and the establishment media. Myths like the media has a liberal bias, hilarious, or America's a center-right country, preposterous. The truth is that the American people are progressive, and no matter what party or media elites say, justice is coming. I've written a book that makes this clear and shows you we're gonna get it done. It's called Justice is Coming, and you can get it anywhere books and audiobooks are sold. That is a story of human history. Change is the only constant, so change is coming. Hi, I'm Cenk Uygur. I'm in the studio recording my new audiobook, Justice is Coming. Can't wait for you guys to hear it. Go out and listen wherever books and audiobooks are sold today. Members make a difference here at TYT. Together, we amplify the issues that matter. Medicare for all, criminal justice reform, ending imperialist wars, college for all, racial justice, climate change, and an end to money's corrupting influence on our politics. As a member, you help make the show happen, and your support makes an impact on our mission to drive positive change. Click the join button on YouTube to become a member, or go to tyt.com/join.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We have a lot of comments. Before I do that, before I go to the comments, let me remind everyone once again, Shorty Awards, last day to vote. If you would like to support Indisputable, we've been nominated in the category for social activism. tyt.com/vote-IND, tyt.com/vote-IND. This is all of us, including you. Membership. We need 100,000 new members. That's all, just 100,000 new members. That's to meet our goal. Simply put, we need your support now more than ever. tyt.com/team, tyt.com/team. TYT stands apart from mainstream media because we are powered by people, not by corporate interest. Help us remain accountable only to you. Support us at tyt.com/team now. All right. Yep. Civitas Vox. I had a friend who played dead to survive his father drowning him. That's so sad. And when I was researching this story, I saw that multiple people had incidents like this from their childhood. It was very sad to see those stories and the reality of who we are. Librio, is the show running high tempo today or is it just me? Nope. It is not just you, it's high tempo. I had a little too much, espresso earlier. Tanya Latmarot. It is almost always someone who is trusted. He will never be trusted again. It is, isn't it? When you consider the reporting we've done at Indisputable, I can't remember one of those types of reports where it was not an adult who had significant public trust with kids and community. Okay. Suspicious dragging 92. I'm curious if this is enough for the family court to not try so hard to give the abusing parent parental rights. From my experience, my ex driving 3 times over the legal limit with our then infant in the car wasn't enough to get me full custody. Sad. Regina, thank you so much for joining. Welcome to Indisputable. We appreciate your support as always. All right. Iowa State University president says, hey, we got to find safe places for white men. Young white men need to be protected. Put up the picture for my ass. Presidents from Iowa's 3 public universities told the Board of Regents Thursday that they are overhauling their DEI programs on campus. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, no more. Which is to say they're shutting them down completely and closing down the DEI offices. According to KCRG, the presidents of Iowa State University, University of Iowa, and the University of Northern Iowa all met to assure the board and the state legislature that they are complying to overhaul DEI programs and enhancing civics education, a demand that reportedly won't impact DEI positions that are necessary for accreditation or compliance with state and federal law. Though it's really difficult to see how the mandate would not affect those positions. Instead of a DEI office, University of Iowa President Barbara Wilson says the university is starting a civic dialogue initiative pilot program next fall. Quote, this initiative will really get students to think about how do you come to the table? You see, this is what happens when a Karen gets a PhD and a university position. Let's eliminate DEI, no diversity, equity, and inclusion. We just want to talk about, how to get a seat at the table. That DEI got you a seat at the table. The irony of that, it got you a seat at the table. How do you listen to others who are different from you? How do you find common ground? These are questions now being posed by the presidents who got rid of the DEI program. How do you stay curious instead of judgmental? Wilson said. Also, we will be prohibiting anybody from requiring pronouns. That will be added to all syllabi for all courses this fall. All right, so in similar fashion, University of Northern Iowa, the president, Mark Nook, says they are planning to create, quote, a center for civic education. So old Mark says the center will benefit their students, K through 12 students, and the broader public. Quote, it will promote the values of free speech, civic leadership, public service, and participatory citizenship. Whatever that means. Iowa State President Wendy Winterstein said, quote, so one of the first things we did was establish learning communities. I'm laughing because it's a college. The college is already a learning community. Okay, all right, let me go back. The first thing we did was establish a learning community so that a young white man from rural Iowa could come and be in a learning community and find the place where they could belong. End quote. That's what the man said. He said, we're creating learning communities for young white men so white men can feel that they belong. Zach Lindley of News One points out, apparently, in Weinstein's caucasity-infused mind, I love the wordplay, young white men from rural Iowa are having a difficult time finding a place where they comfortably fit in while attending school that is checks note, more than 72% white. Actually, all three schools are overwhelmingly Caucasian. The University of Iowa is also 72% white, and the University of Northern Iowa is a whopping 83% white. In fact, no other individual racial group at any of the three schools come in at more than just over 7%. At both Iowa State and UI, black students represent less than 1% of the student body. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds hasn't yet signed the bill that lawmakers passed to ban DEI programs at public universities, but the presidents are already falling over themselves to show how they are complying with something that is not yet law. These are college presidents playing politics, and it is sad. Sharing thoughts here.
College presidents are cowards, but I will say that this is a safer space for them than pretending that they really care about important aspects of diversity. They feel safe doing this. I thought the safe space for white men is everywhere. It's everywhere, okay? But America is, I guess, preferring the lie. And so very dangerous for us. We'll keep living the lie.
Yeah. And as I said in an op-ed I wrote when the affirmative action was gutted by the Supreme Court, I said it's going to clear the way for exactly what you're saying now. It is in my op-ed. I said, look for these things to start happening because the Supreme Court has said we will no longer enforce the mandated inclusion dynamics of universities. And it will go to scholarships, and it will also permeate into private sector. I said that in the op-ed, you can check it out. This is happening now because unlike Republicans who obviously play chess, Democrats play checkers, and they see things for one move at a time. Republicans, they see things as an overall strategy. It's unfortunate we're being outsmarted by bigots. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
You would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one. You're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said no, other than day one.
By locking up his enemies, by breaking all the rules, the courts, yeah, right, them and what army?
This country needs a dictator. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
It's the truth. From the Young Turks, Americans saying they want a dictator.
I'd rather have Donald Trump as a dictator for 4 years.
I'm going dictator Trump for sure.
How crazy will his supporters go?
I'm going to be a dictator for one day.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. Here at TYT, we understand this. That's why we're not gonna price gouge you or use inflation as an excuse to raise our prices. A TYT membership is not your typical subscription, but basic membership is still just $4.99. So what do you get for that price? For starters, you're getting exclusive programming, unique, exclusive designs from Shop TYT, access to a members-only chat, giveaways, emojis, and so many other amazing perks. But most importantly, you're helping to make an impact. As a TYT member, you not only help us do the shows every day, but you drive real positive change in the process. In 2017, we helped to start Justice Democrats right here on TYT. That's a group that got a dozen progressives elected into Congress. That's amazing, you did that. Your support also funds TYT's very own investigative reporting. Just recently, our reporters exposed the Fellowship Foundation and pressured lawmakers into boycotting that bigoted event. Isn't that amazing? We raised over $30,000 for Jackson, Mississippi and delivered clean water to thousands of people in need. Our petitions, polls, and community of activists help keep the corruption of Washington in check. That's the impact of what just $4.99 a month from our members can do. And we're just getting started. Positive change doesn't occur overnight, but with your contribution, we can make it happen together.
I got pulled in. They told me, hey, listen, Cenk, we're insiders. We are the establishment. People in Washington tell me that they're concerned about your tone. We think that there's a better role for you, and it's not in 6 o'clock. The problem with the mainstream media is they're desperate to get access. They don't challenge the government. They don't challenge power. We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media.
Components that corrupt our politicians, I think, also corrupt mainstream media. It's really difficult for cable outlets to talk about things like income inequality, wealth inequality, when the advertisers that are funding their shows are the same corporations that want to ensure that the same system continues. People watch digital media or new media, they get a completely different message. They focus on the issues that matter or resonate more with the constituency. We need to know one thing. Is the corporate media incompetent?
Corporate media, I can't hear you. Establishment press, where are you? I can't hear you. The media's position I am clear on. Everything is pro-war, so everything is just framed that way. In this case, I mean, war is inevitable, right? I mean, the defense contractors should get a couple more $1 trillion.
You ready for the stunning results? Only 6% of people say they have a great deal of confidence in the press. Wakey, wakey, okay? Progressives don't like the media either. You know why? It's the corporate media. Corporate media sounds like a conspiracy. Wait. Who owns you? Multi-billion-dollar corporations, public corporations. The idea that we're corporate media because corporations own us. Yeah, that's how it works.
Join the Dragon Squad by becoming a YouTube channel member. Click the join button below or sign up on tyt.com/join to get access to fun emojis, a member-only chat, exclusive shop TYT designs, ad-free watching, and so many other amazing perks. Plus, you get bragging rights for being part of the coolest community on the internet and help us drive real positive change in the world. The Dragon Squad awaits, so join today.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We got a lot of comments and a few updates. Once again, Shorty Awards, last day to vote. Very simple, very easy. You can vote now. We encourage anyone who supports this programming to continue to support us through memberships as well. But you can vote for the show in the social activism category by going to tyt.com/vote-IND, tyt.com/vote-IND. Once again, today is the last day. And as for membership, we have this goal of 100,000 new members. We can get it. We're going to get it. We already got it because you're going to make it happen. So this year, we're looking at 100,000 as our new members goal. Simply put, we need your support. We need your support now more than ever. tyt.com/team, tyt.com/team. We don't have to be measured here. We don't have to sugarcoat. We don't have to ignore because of interest and corporate dynamics. We don't have to do that. Our opinion is unbought, unbossed. Agree or disagree, it is unbought and unbossed. And that's because it is powered by you. You are the engine. You are the engine. All right? So we encourage you to become a member. Okay. Yep, I am shocked. As a white man, this is so embarrassing. I mean, they could not wait to get to the legislature to say, hey, guys, I know the law isn't final yet, but we're already in compliance. Dragons don't know I'm not real bacon. Doc, we're not being outsmarted. We are being sold out by our leaders. I think a little bit of both. Because you're right, there are leaders in the liberal movement who have absolutely decided to simply play the game. You know, they're not impacted by the policies that they govern or they promote, support, or oppose. And I learned that in politics a few years back, how a lot of the politicians, the vast majority of them, they do not live a certain economic reality. They do not live in a certain social construct to where the policies actually impact them or those in their circle. Because if it did, somebody who's close to them, family member or friend that's very close to them, would at least pull them aside and say, do you realize the policy you're creating does A, B, and C to me and our children, to your nieces and nephews? But they do not live in that kind of social order. And so these policies don't impact them. So in order for them to understand it, you have to make them understand it. And that is an unfortunate reality of leadership. All right. David Morris. It's really difficult for young white men when they realize they aren't the gatekeepers of culture. Please think of them. I mean, the man said what he said. And you got to give it, like out of all of the university presidents who were there, he's the only one that said what everybody was thinking out loud. He's the only one that put it out. Like, yeah, we're trying to create safe spaces for white men. He didn't say white women. You got to understand the irony of this. He didn't say students. He's a young white man. He's a college freaking president of a major university. All right. I wore Janko jeans. Thank you for that, by the way. Growing up in, I think this is Pitcher, Oklahoma, my neighbor took her 3 kids, 2 being babies, to the river, and drowned 2 of them, and the oldest escaped. The oldest of them escaped. I think on that one was 5. That is so sad. All right, and we have, I think this is IOCAM's taser, I believe, or OCAM taser. Maybe it's not because you're white. Maybe it is because you're intolerable and need to learn how to function in society without privilege. Gallagher 71. The Dems are not only being outsmarted by bigots, but by dumb bigots. How dumb do you need to be to get outsmarted by someone like, Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lindsey Graham, Taters R. Green. I like what you did there, by the way. Okay, well, there's a governor who brags about killing animals. She killed a dog, killed a goat. I think she's applying for a job in the Trump administration. Here it is.
Kristi Noem, governor of South Dakota, and the current frontrunner for the selection of vice president for Donald Trump. And as you can see in this post, she's posting about National Puppy Day and celebrating this puppy she has that she clearly seems to love. This puppy, on the other hand, not so much. You see, she wrote a book, and she sent out advanced copies of that book in the hopes that people would read it and promote it and write about it. Well, some people read it, and they had some questions about some stuff in it, specifically a story she had about an untrainable dog that she brags about shooting to death. She says, I hated that dog, and calls her untrainable, dangerous to anyone she came in contact with, and less than worthless as a hunting dog. The dog was only about 14 months old, and then there was an incident where she killed some people's chickens and she had to pay for the chickens. And then in response to that, she says she took the dog to a gravel pit, put the dog in the pit, then loaded a firearm and pew to the dog. Oh, but that wasn't her only story. She also talked about a goat that she hated, who was disgusting and stunk and chased her chickens. And what did she do with this goat? The goat was also dragged to a gravel pit, but jumped when she pulled the trigger and subsequently survived the wound. Noem went back to her truck to retrieve another shell and then hurried back to the gravel pit and put him down. She adds, I guess if I was a better politician, I wouldn't tell this story here. You think?
Put up the picture full mass. That's a straight killer right there. Of animals, according to her. Governor of South Dakota, Governor Kristi Noem. Well, she wants to be Trump's running mate. What better way to do so than to release a book full of possibly coded words? I don't know what to take of this. All right, so in Trump's orbit, the governor's decision to disclose in her forthcoming memoir that she once shot and killed a family dog is being seen as a pure political self-dynamic part of a series, lapses in judgment, and a sign of desperation that President Trump especially doesn't like, according to over half a dozen GOP sources who spoke to the Daily Beast on condition of anonymity to detail confidential conversations. Quote, haven't seen a more public suicide than Jim Jones at Jonestown. Another Trump world source told the Daily Beast, for years, Noem has been seen as a rising star in Republican politics thanks to her combative unabashedly MAGA image. She routinely appears in news reports as one of Trump's top contenders for his vice presidential slot in 2024. At this point, though, even Republicans may agree that by deeply offending a bipartisan constituency, pet lovers, Governor Nome is not just politically incorrect, but politically incompetent. Put up the picture again. You have to understand the irony of this. The people who believe you should murder protesters have said to Governor Nome, now damn it, Governor, you're gone too far when you killed the family dog, the goat, the chickens, and whatever else you done killed. This is the irony of this. In the startling excerpt from a new book, No Going Back is the title. Governor Nome detailed the graphic and shocking end of a 14-month-old puppy. It's not a dog, it's a puppy. It's untrainable. The recount has been poorly received by many, including those in Trump world. One source even adding Nome had a very slight shot before of being Trump's running mate, but that is less than zero now. A vice president is chosen, according to the quote, a vice president is chosen to solve problems and add real value. A proven gaffe machine does neither. A source close to the Trump campaign told the Daily Beast. And they're basically saying there's only room for one gaffe machine in the administration, that's Trump. Yeah, so not only that, but a MAGA operative said Nome's chances at a cabinet position could also be toast. I mean, damn, she can't even get past the application process. Her involvement with the Trump campaign at all could be limited going forward too. Wait a minute, you mean she can't even campaign for the man? Wow. All right, so amid all the blowback, listen, put it up. Amid all the blowback, the governor refuses to apologize. Okay? Refuses to apologize, writing on X that she understands why people might be upset, but that tough decisions like this happen all the time on a farm. The governor also tried to spin the execution as an example of how she doesn't, quote, shy away from tough challenges, whether running the ranch or in politics. I have never passed on my responsibilities to anyone else to handle, even if it's hard and painful. I followed the law, and I was being a responsible parent, dog owner, and neighbor. It was a puppy, Governor. It was a puppy, okay? Operatives around Trump are fixated on the ads that would run if she were anywhere involved with President Trump's campaign regarding the dog. The Trump operative said, quote, this stuff is devastating. There's nothing more popular in politics than dogs. And she killed one, and she continues to talk about it. That's what's baffling and shows out of control judgment. Widespread and swift backlash for Governor Nome's bizarre and off-putting story within Trump world is an exception to the general rule that Trump's most trusted allies typically are protected when a bad news cycle comes to them, for them, after a self-inflicted wound. Matthew Bartlett, GOP strategist and director of public affairs at the Department of State under Trump, said Governor Nome may have carved out a new category for herself in the lexicon of political blunders. For Kristi Noem, it's hard to even call this one an unforced error, Bartlett said, because she deliberately told this story from something she thought would be a position of strength, connecting with rural America to show strength in hard decisions. Could have been a true asset, Bartlett said, but shooting a puppy never is. End quote. Yeah. Can we put up the picture of the governor again? Just to. You see, Governor, I know you may not understand what's happening now, but I think that dog you shot is hunting you and has gotten karma back and has killed your political career. What a fascinating end to the story. You kill a puppy, puppy comes back, kills your political career. Literally, the puppy has killed your political career because you told what you did. Man, bragging about killing animals, it was the way you did it. It was braggadocious. It was as if You took joy in it. It was the contextualization in your book that added to the response. But I'm still just as shocked as you, Governor, that a bunch of killing, bigoted racists like Trump world are all of a sudden against you. I know you're shocked, so am I. I won't lose any sleep over it though. All right, so sharing thoughts here.
Well, my thoughts are, of course, it is mean, it's cruel, as people have noted. It's also kind of dumb, as you alluded to, why you would think that this would be great. And to anyone who thought for a second whether she was going to fit with the ticket or not after this nonsense, that this is leadership, it's actually the opposite. She wants to school us on farm life, okay, and what needs to happen. She can't even keep her puppy from attacking chickens. That says more about the owner than it does an innocent animal. I know I have some dogs who kind of do what they want. That's a reflection of the owner who couldn't properly train them, and so now we just coexist, and that's okay. But I'm not going to take them out to a gravel pit, Dr. Ritchie. I too agree that the dog is having the last bark here, if you will, rest its soul.
I like that, the last bark. And it is interesting that her big, memoir, that whatever other dynamics are in it that may be positive or somewhat insightful, could provide some levels of leadership commentary. Well, they got basically put to the side because she wanted to tell us about how she likes to kill animals, including a puppy at 14 months old. All right. Well, who would do this to a dolphin? A dolphin washes up on a shore with multiple bullet wounds. And I checked, according to the authorities, the old governor of South Dakota had an alibi. Put up the picture full mask. Okay. CNN and HuffPost, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, is offering a reward for $20,000 for information about a juvenile. This is a baby dolphin. Bottlenose dolphin that was found shot multiple times in a Louisiana beach last month. The dolphin was discovered by a member of the public march on March 13th on West Mesa Beach in Cameron Parish near the Texas state line, about 4 hours west of New Orleans. And they called the Aquarium Rescues Hotline for stranded marine mammals. The Office of Law Enforcement said in a news release Tuesday, the dolphin had, quote, injuries consistent with being shot with a firearm. All right, and this was multiple times, okay? The necropsy conducted by the Audubon Nature Institute, which is basically how they review what happened inside of a dead animal. New Orleans found multiple bullets lodged in the dolphin's carcass, including the brain, spinal cord, the heart of the dolphin. NOAA said the animal appeared to have died from the trauma, according to what occurred near the time of death. Harassing, harming, killing, or feeding wild dolphins is prohibited under the Marine Mammal Protection Act, according to NOAA. Violators can be prosecuted civilly or criminally and could face up to $100,000 in fines and up to 1 year in jail per violation. Officials say they are seeking information that can lead to the identification of the suspect, an arrest, or potential prosecution. Anyone with information is encouraged to call the NOAA enforcement hotline. The number is 1-800-853-1964. Sharon, I can't think of a more beautiful and innocent and really a loving creature than a dolphin inside of the sea. And if you have somebody going around literally putting bullets inside of dolphins intentionally, they may be doing some other carnage too.
Well, you're exactly right. And as much as this dolphin is beautiful, think of the kind of person who would do such a thing. They're the exact opposite. Zoo sadism is the pleasure derived from cruelty towards animals. And this person has to be caught, Dr. Ritchie, because you're right. It is a precursor to other things. People who are cruel to animals are thought to be cruel to humans, especially cruel.
That is right. Sharon, always a pleasure having your insight and commentary. Tell people how they can follow you and check out your great work.
Pleasure's all mine, Doc. Honored to be here. Sharon Reed Live across all platforms. Sharon Reed Show on In the Black Network. And of course, Rebel HQ. The video's having some good success. I appreciate people checking them out. And another went live today.
Awesome. It's good stuff. Great content. We appreciate all you do. And for those who are watching. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.